everyone, and welcome to In Time. My came in a little late there, but that's all right. First, a public service announcement. I've been making a number of these, and I should probably stop, so I will try to be comprehensive, brief, and then not do this again for a while. In Time is a news channel. I don't mean this as in this is what we've decided, so on. So we are declared a news channel by YouTube. That comes with some advantages and some drawbacks. One of the drawbacks, you can't clip on In Time. I don't know why YouTube has a prohibition against clipping, but you can't clip news channels. So, we learned that the hard way, and we've gone through sort of the YouTube terms of service. But we're also permitted to say and do things that tend to get other channels taken down. Sometimes it's swung the other way. We have on occasion, at one point, we quoted Donald Trump directly. Those of you who remember us covering Liz Cheney's primary, we quoted Donald Trump when he was gloating about her loss, and the channel was taken down by YouTube for promulgating false information about January 6th. Now, the reason we got taken down was because we quoted Trump's false information. We're a news channel. We have to do that. So YouTube has gotten better about these kinds of things, and we are treated with kid gloves when it comes to saying some things, and we are not when it comes to saying others. I say this to point this out because those of you who watch a number of other channels, one thing you'll notice is a lot of people will say, well, this person was R-worded. What they're saying is raped. This person was raped. But as soon as you say the word raped, you are demonetized for that. And the reason is because advertisers don't want to. Do you want to know who makes the most money on YouTube? It's the people who do unboxing videos. YouTube is pressing hard for children videos. That's what they're doing. That is not what we do. That is not what we are ever going to do. We believe quite strongly that there is a segment of the, we know for a fact there's a segment of the YouTube population that wants genuine, serious news and wants a channel and a team of people on that channel who take doing this seriously. That's us. But we, because of that, we don't say the R word. We don't sugarcoat anything that we don't have to. There are very few things that we will not, air and discuss, but it means we get demonetized practically every show, despite being a news show. It's just not what YouTube wants, and they discourage it. So, Daddy Jim, I notice you've already given a super chat. I say this to say, if you appreciate the show, please keep in mind, YouTube does not appreciate us. They'd rather we were a children's channel. We get demonetized a lot. This show has a harder time monetizing than most shows. And even then some of the Ukraine channels, because, if they're fundraising, so on and so forth, if they're literally showing images of people getting killed, okay, they're going to have the same troubles we have. But we have shown that. We are going to talk about that, and we're going to talk today about a subject that is, as soon as I say it, going to get us demonetized. We're already demonetized. I'm going to mention Hitler. That gets us demonetized. Actually, that doesn't. That just limits the ad revenue. It gets complicated nonetheless. Point being, I mean it when I say if you like this channel, support is appreciated, and it really does help because we are not YouTube's favorite, and it's not anything personal. They just know that children opening boxes makes more money with advertisers. It's capitalism. What can you do? So what do we have in the news today? A number of really interesting things that we have to cover. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to switch up the order on this. Nidhi had asked, and the answer to this is yes. There is a fatwa issued by Iran against Donald Trump himself personally. The fatwa is a holy war. It's essentially a jihad. It's a commandment to kill him. I didn't realize, what I read here suggests that there's a fundraiser in Iran for it. I don't know how that works. Iran has a lot of money, but right now the bounty has gone to, I think it's 40 million. And again, even just saying this gets you demonetized. And they have an AI. It's, you know, they hear the words, whatever you say, they hear it, and you go down in the algorithm. It's one reason that End Time Struggles is, we're going to treat you like adults, and we're going to talk about this seriously. It is a fatwa for the assassination of the President of the United States. It's at 40 million right now, and it has been issued by Iran. Someone's always trying to kill the President of the United States. A lot of times they're just crazy people who think that Jodie Foster is talking to them. I mean, it's a very big planet, and there's a lot of crazy people out there. But the issuing of a fatwa by a fundamentalist religious state is quite serious, and it is something that I think the Secret Service, I would assume, is taking extraordinarily seriously. This is more than just, you know, and the fact that they're raising money for it is actually almost inconsequential. The amount of money is almost inconsequential. The reality is, fundamentalist Islam, the fundamentalist, is so powerful that it can drive 19 people to hijack airplanes and drive them into buildings. That's how strong it is. So the fatwa itself is no joke. The fact that it has now gone up to 40 million, I mean, it could just be showboating. They're presumably working on a peace deal, so who knows? But at any rate, so that's the first thing that we need to cover. The second thing is interesting. Alan Dershowitz has come out and said, I'll let you hear his statement. Well, let's just actually play it right now, and then we'll discuss it. I will say Dershowitz is a highly respected attorney. He is a highly respected educator. He has gotten up there in years, and in his later years, he has been, in my view, sounding somewhat unhinged. He has been interviewed a lot. He works at Harvard, which makes all of this dovetails into, it's just, oh my God, is this gonna, wow. He I don't think he's a professor emeritus at Harvard, but he does work at Harvard. He's been very critical of Harvard on any number of things. He speaks out a lot. He was on the OJ defense team. That's what most people know him for, that and the Innocence Project. He's gotten a little loopy, but a sort of Bernie Sanders loopy, not Joe Biden loopy. So let's hear what he has to say.
Every document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them.
All right. So that is Alan Dershowitz contradicting the Attorney General, Pat Bondi, who has said that essentially the Epstein files didn't contain anything. She received, by her own admission, a truckload of files, but she essentially intimated that what that truckload was evidence vis-a-vis actual, like, pornography, so on and so forth, but nothing that incriminated anyone other than Epstein himself for what he was doing. That, unfortunately, that's preposterous and ludicrous on its face. And the reason is, we know Epstein was associated with a number of extraordinarily influential political figures, including future and current presidents. So he knew the Clintons before they came into office. So some of these relationships would undoubtedly be for cover. They would be with people who were beyond reproach. And he's just buddy-buddy with people who were beyond reproach and would protect him inadvertently, just by nature of the fact that, well, this person wouldn't be friends with such a horrible human being. And then a number of these relationships were people that he was taking to his island and providing, he was sex trafficking for, providing underage children for, yada, yada, yada. And we know that this has happened. We've heard the interviews of the people involved. We know Trump has been to Epstein's island. We know he's been on his jet repeatedly. We know that Trump has said, "Who's Epstein?" And I've got to tell you, in general, and this is speculation on my part, so I'm not, this isn't evidence per se, but I've got to tell you, when somebody is innocent and you say, "Do you know Epstein?" the answer usually is, "Oh God, yeah, I've been on his plane. I had no idea what was going on. Holy smoke, I am as shocked by anybody." If you're guilty, the answer is, "Epstein who?" That's been my experience in life. So when Trump says he doesn't know the guy, that's profoundly concerning. So here is Alan Dershowitz, again, getting up there in years. My take on this is he's being honest and he knows what he's talking about. That's my take. You do have to question, because I've seen him in recent interviews. He's lucid, but he's let me rephrase. He is lucid, but he's been getting more extreme, and he's been causing trouble at Harvard. He's been causing trouble everywhere he is. So now he comes out and says he knows this. Having said that, there are a number of reasons he's in a position to know this. He is one of the top lawyers in the country. The idea that he was hired to protect somebody on the Epstein list is very credible. If he was, then he would be bound by confidentiality, as he said. And if you listen to his language very carefully, he's bound by several things. One is apparently by a judge. So this would imply that somewhere he was at a hearing, and a judge issued a gag order and prohibited him from discussing it. But he's also bound by confidentiality. Confidentiality is a cornerstone of the legal profession. It cannot operate if confidentiality is breached. I am a big believer in confidentiality. I have gotten in trouble. I've gotten in arguments over that. At one point, there was an attempt to subpoena a translator who was translating into Russian English for Donald Trump, and it was an official translator working in their capacity as a translator for the U.S. government, for the President of the United States. And despite the fact that I was for impeaching Trump and I wanted him gone, and I have very strong beliefs I'm not going to get into right now as to just how bad he is. The reality is the importance of the First Amendment, the importance of journalism, the importance of any number of systemic or institutional ideas are even more important than Trump. And one of them is you do not subpoena the Secret Service, who can't do their job if the president is hiding things from them. And they can't do it for Trump. They can't do it for Obama. Can't do it for, pick a president. Secret Service should not be able to be subpoenaed. Neither should translators, because a president needs to be able to talk frankly with world leaders. Unfortunately, they need to be able to talk about sometimes unethical and or illegal things, and if they can be subpoenaed, the translator cannot do their job anymore. So, at any rate, so Dershowitz appears to be bound. We're going to play it again now that we've had this discussion of what he's talking about. But putting this out there, Dershowitz is again, one of the most preeminent lawyers alive in this country right now. And he has made this really rather clear. I don't know what the repercussions of this are going to be. I hope they're significant, but I've been reading the post, the thread, and a number of people have said, well, gee, if you're bound, then don't say anything. Why say, I have all the evidence, but I can't use it? Well, to stir the pot and get people frustrated enough that they say, we know something's wrong, and put more pressure on the White House, especially from MAGA. Why not break it? Well, he is a preeminent lawyer, and he didn't get to be that way by disrespecting or not understanding the fundamentals of why things are done the way they're done. So it's going to be very unlikely that he's going to violate confidentiality. Very unlikely, even to indict the President of the United States. Very unlikely. That is a cornerstone of the Constitution, actually. It's one of the non-enumerated rights to counsel, and in that right is the right of privilege, which belongs not to the attorney. The attorney doesn't have the right to violate it. So let's hear once again what he had to say.
Every document would prove I was in it.
Oh.
Documents are being suppressed. And they're being
every
document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them.
Titan asked, this doesn't sound like an NDA or a judge's order. It sounds like something he knows from a client. It sounds like that's the vast majority of it, but I think he mentions that he's also enjoined by a judge. But the second he says confidentiality, that would be correct. It would be from a client, which the first thing you then do is try to go over his client list and see who he's got. The thing is, he's going to have a lot of prominent people no matter what, because, again, of who he is. And somebody's client list isn't public information. Whoever that client is approached him quietly, and probably nobody knows. Let me play this one more time, just because I think he said judge. Let's listen one more time. I'm going to pay more attention here.
Every document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed, and they're being.
Okay, so documents are being suppressed. He's referring to Pat Bondi and this administration suppressing the documents that they received.
Suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases.
Okay. So he said confidentiality from a judge, and I think if we're going to parse this, I'm going to say that there's a comma just between. So he's bound by two separate things. He's bound by confidentiality and by a judge, is what it sounds like to me. The judge, he could break if he wanted to. It'd get disbarred, but if he feels ethically bound, he could do it. The confidentiality, really ethically, he cannot violate. But that's what I hear is he's bound by two separate things, but that's an interpretation. It's just that pause makes me think that he's giving an order to list, so there'd be a comma in there.
From a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know, but I hand
and cases. So he's been on a case relating to the Epstein files. That because of that, he has seen the evidence. Him seeing the evidence would fall under probably both confidentiality, because he'd have to out his client, and a gag order from a judge. So that's how I'm interpreting that, is that he's being bound by both. So even if you got the judge to remove the gag order, if you could find the judge and if you could find the case, he could probably reveal what was in those files. He can't reveal who he got them from. or in what context he received them, but it appears as if he has seen the Epstein files and he knows the contents. This is absolutely staggering, and he feels that it is so important that he is going out there and doing this. Now, to make this more interesting, I recognize where he is. That's his office at Harvard University. He works at Harvard University, which is currently enmeshed in a very big deal with Trump. Trump has made DEI demands of Harvard. Harvard has said, go screw. He has then pulled all federal funding for Harvard. It's a significant amount. They have still said, go screw, and have taken him to court. As of yesterday, he has said he is going to pull the accreditation for Harvard. This is an existential, it's now an existential threat to Harvard because, if they lose enough money, now they have endowments, but he is now going to be taxing their endowments. Their endowments tax is going to go up from 1.3% to 8%. That is an extraordinary increase. 8% doesn't sound a lot, but it's what, 6 times the previous endowment, and it's being done to reduce the endowment, so eventually they get to zero. So Harvard does not have money in its coffers to defend itself. Right now, it's got endowments, it's got trusts, so that if it loses funding, it can continue for a while on its own. But he is now attacking those by increasing the tax on those. So he is attempting to get Harvard to comply and dismantling Harvard in the process. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Arthur Miller, Congress should subpoena him to give testimony. That gets back into, there's a problem with that. If he's subpoenaed, I think he should, if there's a judge's order, I think he should violate it. Take the consequences, take the hit, violate the order. If it's client confidentiality, no. He should not answer even in a subpoena. And by the way, this is I think most of you, if you think about it, would actually agree if you think about it, because it's not that different at all from trying to compel a journalist to give their sources. When journalists from the New York Times are asked who their sources are, they say no. They've been subpoenaed, they say no. And they should say no, because a journalist cannot do their job if people are afraid to be a whistleblower. The fact that the identity of Deep Throat in the Watergate scandal was kept for so long is one reason people like, and I forget who it was, I think it was the number 2 guy at FBI, can come forward, because they believe in the integrity of the journalists and that the journalists will go to jail before revealing a source. And only so long as they do that does the First Amendment continue to operate. And only so long as a lawyer cannot reveal who their clients are and what their clients have told them can they defend their clients, because otherwise their clients aren't going to tell them things that they need to know for a proper defense, and you are entitled by the Constitution to a proper defense. You can't fuck with that. So, so I'm not sure how, and the problem is we don't have a majority, so nobody's going to subpoena him. So it's a real question. The only thing that we can look at this point for this to happen, because here's the other thing. I've been thinking about this since I saw this, which wasn't that long ago, but I've been thinking about it. Matt Gaetz. Everybody knew what Matt Gaetz was up to. Everybody knew, and it took a few individuals on the judiciary to really take it seriously, but they tried to protect him. There were people who were trying to get the judiciary, and when the majority flipped in the House, they squashed the report. The Republicans squashed the report. They had to know it was true. They had to know it was true. It was more important to them to keep the majority, to keep the political power, than it was to let this information out. And possibly because it damaged other people, because if they know it's true, if they've known it's true, if they've known it's true for years and that gets out, they're implicated in one way or another as well. It's only because of a leak from the Democrats who just said, oh, whoops, we accidentally released the file, and the whole file got out, and then Matt Gaetz was taken. He had already resigned Congress because he was going to accept a position in the White House, but then he lost that position. Now, nobody asked the follow-up, which is, okay, how long have people in Congress known? Because they wouldn't have been trying to kill that report. And the Republicans who said, we're going to kill this report, read it before they said we're going to kill it. Which means they knew what it contained. That's the definition of a cover-up. And everybody was just so like, oh my God, Matt Gaetz, and this is what the report. Nobody asked the follow-up question, which is, who else in Congress knew and may have been involved? So expecting Congress to do anything at this point is not helpful. So the question is, how much pull does Dershowitz still have? He's lost credibility. He goes on Fox News a lot. Fox News likes him because he while sort of being liberal, he trashes liberals. But he is still nonetheless one of the preeminent lawyers in this country, and what he's saying is shocking. Is MAGA going to listen to him? That's the question. Fox News is not going to put him on to say that. I don't know if he's ever going to go on Fox News again. I kind of hope he does, because, you know, if he says that to the Trump base, that was one of the things. It's amazing MAGA is taking that seriously. I mean, I'm glad they're taking it seriously, but MAGA seems to pick and choose what's acceptable and what's not. I'm glad there's a line. I'm glad they draw it. It's obviously not at, you know, cheating on your wife and paying off hookers and doing all of these other things. It is apparently ruining a dress by you know, never mind. Misuse of cigars is highly offensive, but using campaign funds to pay off, and I said hooker, it's to pay off a porn star that you've had sex with, that's perfectly fine. Anyways, the Harvard issue is a very serious problem. Now, if they pull Harvard's accreditation, this means a number of things. Presumably, as of that point, Harvard can no longer have any of their papers peer reviewed. They can no longer engage in the peer review process. They their degree from Harvard no longer means anything, presumably. So, you know, it's no different than getting your degree, you know, from the back of a matchbook cover. Having said that, Harvard has at this point reiterated that Donald Trump does not have the ability to pull their accreditation. Whether they do or don't is a little bit at issue. So Harvard has issued a press release saying that their accreditation is not in jeopardy in any way. The U.S. Department of Education has come out, I think, just earlier today and said that, that was today, that they have received a letter of complaint from the Justice Department claiming that Harvard has been violating people's civil rights. They have received a letter from the Office of Civil Rights and from the Department of Health and Human Services, calling Harvard University in violation of federal anti-discrimination laws and asking that Harvard's accreditation be pulled. So Trump is in fact, actively attempting to pull their accreditation. Let's see. They also received a letter from the from the Office of Post-Secondary Education informing the Commission that Health and Human Services has already found Harvard University in violation of federal anti-discrimination laws. And based on this finding, Harvard's accreditation should be pulled. The U.S. Department of Education has replied and said that the federal government cannot direct the Accreditation Commission to revoke anyone's credentials. The Commission determines when an the Commission determines when an institution is not in compliance with, and this is in bold emphasis, standards for accreditation, i.e. not legal issues, but academic issues, and takes appropriate action based on that determination. The Commission's policies and procedures, in accordance with federal regulation, give institutions up to 4 years to come into compliance when found by the Commission to be out of compliance, which can be extended for good cause. Jesus, you'd think that they'd have better English than this. Wow, was that a bad... Okay, that should have been parenthetical, but okay. Institutions in non-compliance status remain accredited during this period of time. So what we know is it is a full court press at this point to get Harvard deaccredited, to have them lose their accreditation, and to have all their funding pulled. That Alan Dershowitz at that time, who works at Harvard, has come out with this. And what Trump is, I suspect, likely to do is to say Alan Dershowitz is just saying this because we're attacking Harvard. There's been fewer, harsher critics of Harvard than Alan Dershowitz. So we'll see how this plays out. What we're looking for, I think, at this point is how is MAGA going to react? Alan Dershowitz is not a fan favorite of the right, but again, he is on Fox News a lot, and they do know who he is, and he is held in some esteem there. So we'll see. We'll also see if anybody else comes out. Alan Dershowitz has put a big target on his back doing this. And this brings me to something else I wanted to bring up. Goodwin's law, is it, that says that any Twitter thread, if it goes on long enough, will mention Adolf Hitler. The reason we talk about Adolf Hitler is because he is an extreme example, and it makes it easier to make examples of X, Y, or Z. I try to avoid it because he's not always the best example or the most, accurate to what I'm giving. For those of you who have listened in and heard me talk about the kidnappings in Portland, ICE and detentions without lawyers, so on and so forth, know that I most commonly put that in with, it's not Ceausescu, that's the second time I've tried it, with Pinochet, and how Pinochet came into power. But the reason most people use Hitler is because he's the most recent example of someone who was a dictator who got into power. We have dictators in power right now, and really killed a huge number of people and was genuinely evil in a way that cannot be denied. He's the most recent example. And he affected us. He affected the United States. That's why we use him. But what a lot of Americans don't know, and I think is very worth knowing, if you were to take a list of the top 10 dictators or fascists, no, dictators, by body count, how many people they killed, Hitler is on about 5. He's about 5 or 6 on the list. Most people think he's 1 because of the extermination of the Jews. No. Stalin... So Hitler, I've forgotten the number for Hitler. The number for Stalin is, so Hitler is about 20 million, I want to say. That sounds high. Stalin is at about 21 million. So Stalin killed more of his own people than Hitler killed of Germans and Jews and so on. Over that is Pol Pot, who killed more than Stalin. But one of the ones that's really important that we don't often think about is Chairman Mao, who bats in at killing 44 million people, more than Stalin and Hitler combined. Wow. We don't talk about it. We don't think about it for two reasons. One, didn't really affect us in the U.S. directly. Two, it was in China, which is a pretty secretive place as it is. But what all of these have in common, Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, Ceausescu, I keep Pinochet, Mao. There's a playbook, all of them used. For Mao, just like all of them, it was the Cultural Revolution. And what he did was he started attacking the universities and the intellectuals, and basically made it culturally acceptable to murder all of them. That's where a large number of the actual murders come from, is murdering the intellectuals, deciding that intellectualism is a bad thing, people who are smart are a bad thing, and going and murdering all of them. A lot of the rest came from starvations, because it turned out that, and they considered intellectuals people who knew how to do things like farm. And farmers were replaced, and they just sort of the social engineering, well, instead of having people who know how to farm, we're just going to throw in, general population, and they'll do fine. And all of a sudden there was massive food shortages. And a lot of the population starved to death. Stalin did the same thing. Again, huge purge of intellectuals. Trump's attack on Harvard is the epitome of this. Whether you like Harvard or not, whether they're a bunch of snobbish assholes or not, the reality is, it is a symbol. And there are other universities that may provide a better education than Harvard, but it is the symbol of academia in the United States, and it is deliberately being attacked and dismantled. It is as old as the United States, in effect, just about. So I say that because the idea that lawyers and academics have to come into the thinking of Trump. They have to comport not with reality, but with what he says reality is not only terrifying, but is something we have seen so many times. And to say, oh, this is what we saw in Nazi Germany 50, 60 years ago, is so undercutting how many times we've seen this. We've seen this going all the way back to the Greeks. The first thing what is it? It was the Arabs who used to be the leaders of science and math, and they committed a purge on that, and then all of a sudden, and they've never recovered. It's anyways. Now I'm ranting, so I'm going to move on. We've gotten a number of super chats. We're going to get to those. I'm going to get to one other thing before I do that. But the key takeaway is I am very concerned about the assault on reality. Well, no, this did or did not happen. We spoke about it yesterday too with I knew they spoke English. No, you didn't. Well, this was the biggest and the best. No, it wasn't. Can we at least agree on reality? And the answer to that is no, we can't. I'd like to play this clip. We played this last night. This is absolutely worth playing again, and is a very good example of how we genuinely appear to be incapable of agreeing with reality.
Declassify the Epstein files.
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would.
Release the list.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
Will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past and how we are going to countermand missing children and exploited children going forward.
Just last week, the president's excellent pick for FBI director, Kash Patel, vowed to work with me in releasing the Epstein records and breaking apart the trafficking rings that harm countless women and children across our country.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that.
All this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York.
Yeah.
So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8, a truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI. Kash is going to get me and himself, really, a detailed report as to why all these documents and evidence had been withheld. It's a new administration, and everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have a right to know.
I know the Attorney General has committed to releasing those files. I would defer you to the Department of Justice on her timeline, but when she's made a promise in the past, she has kept it, and I'm certain that she will in this case as well.
Welcome back, everybody. 20 minutes to the top of the hour. Case closed. The Justice Department revealing Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide and insists there is no secret client list out there.
And keep in mind, all of that is just from while since Trump has been in office, he campaigned on releasing, this information. Everybody knows that Clinton's name is on the list. Everybody knows that Trump's name is on the list. We know these things already, and now there is no list. It's wow. All right. So the last thing, this is supposed to be a rundown. It's supposed to be quick, and we've already gone past that. We are going to cover one other thing today, which I consider to be extraordinarily serious. This happened yesterday. This was during ICE protests in Los Angeles. ICE was making arrests, and as they were making arrests, a local news helicopter picked up this.
Take a look at this video right here. It appears a protester fired some kind of gun at federal agents. This happened this afternoon. It was a really chaotic scene at the time. A lot of smoke was being launched at the protesters. And again, it appears a protester fired back with that weapon. It looks like he fired at least a couple of times. We have not heard about any agents being hurt.
All right. So there's been a lot of talk about this, and basically, it's one of the things that we've talked about before. The vast majority of protests up until now have been peaceful, and we see the ones that haven't been, they get highlighted, but the ones that are, and they've often been peaceful until, what is it? The National Guard, we showed the footage of the National Guardsmen actually assaulting and pushing forward into protesters, which the Los Angeles police don't do because they have a lot more experience with this and they know how to diffuse the problem, or at least let it filter out by itself. But there's always two problems. One, bad actors who are on the other side deliberately going in and causing trouble, or two, actors who are ostensibly on your side deciding that things need to get escalated. This is why on occasion on our Discord, someone will say, wow, we're in a state of war, and we are not in a state of war. Commander McMillan has acknowledged on occasion, I think he's got a legit point, that we are maybe in a civil war, a cold civil war, but we are not in a state where people should be going out, getting their guns, and firing at anybody. And we don't know who this protester is. We don't know if he is a legit protester in the sense that he was genuinely there to protest the policies of ICE, or if he was there to instigate problems so that the legit protesters would get in trouble. We don't know. Any guess would be speculation. We do know that the FBI has offered a $50,000 reward for information on who this person is, and let's see. I just want to check one other thing. So, we know that he fired. We know that he fired the pistol. The FBI has confirmed that he fired it, and he fired at police. And the problem is, the longer this goes out, the more we're going to see this. We're going to see this because of lunatics on the left who think that that's going to be the only solution. And they undermine the left's argument, and they undermine what they're trying to do by using violence. Always, period, end of discussion. But there are going to be more and more people who are going to feel that that's the only way to do it. They're wrong. Again, and I've heard this said before. I've heard people say, well, yeah, but things are so bad now. Things were worse in the 60s. There were machine gun nests at the steps of Congress to shoot people coming to Congress. Entire cities were on fire during the 60s. Things were worse then. And Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was able to effect more change, positive social change, without any violence, no guns, than anybody who's fired a gun at anyone so far that I can tell. That's a fact. That's a fact does not change that there are people who aren't going to believe it, and people who aren't going to accept it, and people who also just like the idea of getting into it. I'm a warrior for the cause. But there's also the other side. There's going to be people on the right who are going to say, if I pretend to be a protester and I make a couple shots and get away clean, they're going to come down hard on the protesters, which is true. And both sides have done that. In terms of, not in this instance, but there have been I've seen Trump rallies that, and when I worked as a political operative, the left tried very hard not to engage in the same kinds of techniques. But Hillary Clinton, for example, and I worked against the Hillary Clinton campaign because I was on the Obama campaign during the primaries. Yes, I have no doubt in my mind Hillary Clinton and people on her campaign would sabotage another campaign of a political rival, whether it's on the left, on the right, whatever, would sabotage. They would engage in false flag operations. I have zero doubt in my mind. So, at any rate, we don't know what this is. The one thing we can say is, if you believe in these protests, you have to oppose violence. So hopefully this man is caught and found. Regrettably, incidents like this will rise over time. This is the first that we're aware of. It is a scary qualitative change in what's going on. And we're going to have to keep an eye on that and follow that. If you join us on our Discord, you will find these stories and more that we're working on. But the fact that anyone started firing at police officers like that, and we've seen some of the traps that have been set up. We've been seeing a marked increase in that. Somebody set a small fire, shot and assassinated 2 firemen, and then another officer was shot responding to. So this is a very disturbing and qualitative change in the nature of the discourse in this country. And it should be opposed equally by all sides. And as I rarely speak for Zandering, but I know for a fact that if he were here, he would agree with me. Again, thank you. I did do my little spiel early on about us as an independent organization and needing to try to thrive on YouTube, and so many of you have given super chats, and I appreciate that. And sharing the content also helps. Michelle Ferguson, $9.99 for the electric bill. Thank you very much for that. It really does help. We're doing this full time now. R.I.P. Martian, $9.99. Like your channel and community, Nick. Thank you, sir. The community. I am the captain of the ship, but the chief host is Titan, and we talk about the community and where it's headed quite regularly. But any of the good ideas as to where it should go or how usually come from him, and the implementation is always him. So he gets more credit for the community than I do. I just sort of sit there and say, yes, no, that way, and that's it. So, and the community is also made up of a lot of people like Porpoise, Dorito, Bregwin, Jadzilla Music, and others who are both good people and very good at contributing news when we need it. So it's a lot of hard work. Thank you, sir, for the $9.99. We really do appreciate it. 10 oink 10 HUF or 1000 HUF. I honestly don't know what that is. WDYM is not a children's channel. You report on extremely childish behavior. Now, is this WD? I don't know if this is a complaint on the. Was WDM the local channel that picked up? I don't know. Sorry, Oink. I don't know I don't understand the. We report on extremely childish behavior? The only thing I can think that this is a reference to is the shooting. And or the protests. I'm not going to get into it during a downtime, during a rundown. But I don't think shooting at people is childish, which is why I suspect that that's not what you meant. I don't want to straw man you, but I do apologize. I don't know to what you're referring. Daddy Jim, $10. In the word of Rick Sanchez, yeah, let's get rickety wrecked son. Yeah. I'm having a boomer moment. Okay, I've been having more and more of those. I need, yeah. I suspect everybody here knows what we're talking about except me. Yep. All right, another one of those. I'll have to let it go. Daddy Jim, 10 pounds, British sterling. Again, thank you so much for your continued support, Daddy Jim. We really do appreciate it. Thank you, Nick, sir. Thank you to Blonde Bombsheller for sharing the truth about Ukraine. You are both heroes, enough said. And we do need to be getting back to spending more time with Ukraine. I've been talking with Greg Terry, who is, I think, rather remarkable in his work, and we enjoy having him on, and I enjoy watching his shows, and we've been chatting and would like to do more work together. He's been busy. We've been busy. At any rate, we do need to be covering more on the Ukraine front. So thank you for that. And that is the breaking. Today is Friday, and there's an expression, it's a take out the trash day. Most political entities like to give all the bad news all out at once on Friday. And the reason is people are less likely to, thank you. People are less likely to grab a paper on, they're not on their way to work. They don't grab the paper. They don't see it. So if they release it Friday night, it can't be in the papers really till Saturday morning. Nobody wants to read the paper on a Saturday morning. And even if they do, presumably nobody's going to be in the office to respond, answer questions, so on and so forth. So the next press briefing on something would be on a Monday. So it's a great way to kill stories you don't want people talking about. So we do often find Fridays big things coming out. So I am not convinced that even though it's 3:40 p.m. Eastern that we are done for the day. So we're going to be keeping an eye on the news. I have, as on occasion, Papa Titan needs to explain things to me because sometimes, I'm a little slow. I report on Extremely Child and that Trump's behavior is so thank you. I think I get it now. It's Trump who's the child. Although sometimes, like I say, you need to bring out a chalkboard and just sometimes that's just the way I am. So I do apologize. I think I get it now. And thank you very much for your support and your super chat. Thank you everyone who has supported. We will be staying on the news. Check us out on the Discord. And if you have anything else that you wanted to ask anyone or chat about, myself, the other hosts are all available on our Discord, and we look forward to seeing you on Tuesday when Xandring and I will be doing an In Time, and if anything else significant comes up, we will be back. Have a good day and a good weekend. Thank you.